Hi, chosen few expats. Welcome back. And if you're new to our channel, thank you for joining us. My name is Alonzo. Before we get into this video, I had a couple of things I wanted to cover. First, we now have our Shopify store open. So if you're interested in supporting the channel through purchase of some of our products and accessories with our chosen few expats logo, as well as some other t-shirts and accessories dealing with some of the cities and the areas and the provinces around Panama, click the link above to go into our Shopify store. You can also click onto any of the items that are below this video. Click the home button. That will show you the full assortment of products because only a few of the products are listed up underneath the video. Secondly, before we get into this interview with Beth McGuyton, I just wanted to point out that you guys really should watch the entirety of this interview, both parts 1 and 2. Beth is not a typical expat who just came down here, started a business. Beth has been here in excess of 9 years. She's married to a Panamanian, so she brings a very, very detailed insight into the Panamanian culture and how it relates to us as being expats here from the U.S. and Canada. So be sure to watch that all the way through. And just aside from that, she's a great interview, very entertaining. So with that, y'all enjoy the show.
Obviously, when you're in the Mecca, you're right in the city, or if you're in Coronado or right nearby it, same thing with like inside of Boquete, you're always going to have higher pricing. And again, lifestyle really plays a factor in this. Because for instance, if someone was on a very extreme fixed income looking for a rent for $500 or $600 a month, does that exist? Absolutely. But you're not going to find it. It's not going to be a beachfront condo. It's not going to be where the expats live. It's going to be living in a local Panamanian style home, may or may not have hot water, very simple floor plan, probably lower quality. So there's so many factors. And I think that's why the client consultation is so valuable. But I know that people want prices. So to give you an example, we've sold like a treehouse type home on the way to El Valle for $80,000. I have a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in San Carlos, which is about 10 minutes from Coronado, for $175,000. I've got a beachfront 3-bedroom, older build, but fully renovated for $249,000 beachfront. That's kind of unheard of. And then I also have like $1.2 million beachfront home in Gorgona, or a $3 million home in the high-end Buenaventura. But I would say an average budget, if I take all of the people that I work with, the median is always on rentals about $1,000 to $1,500 a month is kind of the range, which in that range, you can easily find a beachfront condo or a house in Coronado, or, you can find a nice property. And then in terms of purchasing, the average price point is, I would say, between 200 and 300,000. We usually don't get a lot of budgets above 300. Sometimes we get budgets around 100,000. That makes it very challenging, not impossible. But if someone has $200,000, they can find something nice. Yeah. So
that sounds good. Thanks for that information. So you mentioned as far as a rental range, like maybe 1,000 to 1,500. You're talking like maybe in the beach areas, or you can even find something like that in the city. But do you think in some of these mountain areas, somebody can maybe find some a little less expensive? That's
yeah. I mean, like in El Valle, for instance, I helped a client find a house for $500. Again, it was super simple, nothing extravagant. It was clean, it was functional. But that was his budget, and we found it. Now, does that happen every day? No. I think if you can get up to 800, once you hit 800, that kind of opens up a little more inventory. But if you are going to be at that price point, you kind of need to be flexible with your wish list, because there's not going to be as much inventory. 1,000, 1,200. Now you're kind of getting to the main average price point, and you can have a lot more options. So,
okay.
But anything's possible. Again, you just have to be willing to, your lifestyle has to adhere to your budget.
That's right.
Right.
You need to understand that for sure.
Yeah.
So what so far are you seeing is the potential impact of the pandemic on the real estate market in Panama, with the country reopening, people starting to come in, look for homes to rent, people looking to make their move? What are you seeing as the impact? Are you seeing this resulting in more of a buyer's or renter's market for both home purchases or rentals?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. I mean, we're actually in kind of a very unforeseen situation where, commonly real estate works in waves of 10. You're down, you're up, you're down, you're up. We have been in a down market for the past 5 years. What really set it off was when the Canadian dollar dropped. At the time, before everything was booming, people were buying property sight unseen. People were, coming here, they were buying before they rented. And about, I would say probably 60 to 70% of buyers at the time were Canadian. So when their dollar fell drastically, it kind of stopped. And then since the community we live in is influenced and attracts people from all over the world, when world events are happening, it affects our economy greatly, especially real estate sector. So then we had Brexit in Europe. And then we had the 2016 election in the US that everyone thought, was going to be the end of the world. So all these things kind of played factors in the down market we've been in. Now, obviously COVID hit, but it was very interesting with COVID because what happened was Panama was in one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. We were pretty much locked in our homes for 4 months. During those 4 months, there wasn't any movement because the country was closed. I thought that was the end. I live on a ranch. I was going to raise chickens and pigs and cows, and I thought my career was over.
Back in Texas.
So yeah. So but when they announced the reopening of the country, there was a massive influx of people from all over the world, and it created this crazy demand. Because the country, especially in Panama City, even out at the beach, there was kind of overdevelopment. So there's always been some type of vacancy. It hasn't been difficult to find rental inventory ever. And then all of a sudden, come December, we have our typical high season. And then we have all these people coming from South Africa and Europe and Canada and the US, and the rentals are full. So, but what's interesting with that as well is you would think super high rental demand, it's going to create a price increase. It's not. I think that's because of COVID. I think that people are on a budget. They're the ones that are dictating the rental prices. And then in terms of sales, same thing. Down market, everything's for sale, very little buyers, and there was a ton of inventory. I think a lot of people were hit really hard in the pandemic. So an already amazing fire sale was slashed even more. So investors started coming out of all corners of the world, buying things up. A lot of the Panamanians that were stuck in a condo in the city for 4 months were like, heck no, I'm never doing this again. They wanted a house at the beach. So there's still really good deals. It's still a buyer's market, but it's slowly changing. So I anticipate the market to come back probably in the next 2 to 3 years. So
okay,
interesting. Yeah.
So I guess on a related question that I just thought of, with the recent changes to the Friendly Nations visa, where they've eliminated the economic tie of the establishing a Panama corporation and $5,000 in the bank account, and replaced that essentially with a requirement to purchase $200,000 of real estate. How much discussion have you all been having in your industry about that? Because you guys may be one of the few who are like, hey, this is good news. Like, most everybody else is like, oh, this is terrible. But so what impact are you seeing from that so far, or do you think it will you'll see an impact from that change?
It's tough. I think that a lot of people are upset. I know that the friendly nations visa. Well, all of the visas in general are one of the main like attractions. It's what attracts people from all over the world to become an expat here or a resident. You know, we still see a large amount of retirees. So the pensionado, the pension visa, that remains. There were zero changes to it. So I don't think that people are just going to stop coming to Panama, period. I think it's going to make it tough. You know, they came out with the red carpet visa as well, which is a $300,000 purchase. But I think what we're going to see is a handful of people. It's not going to affect because they were going to purchase anyways. And then I think we're going to see a lot of the digital nomads coming, staying for 3 to 6 months, jumping ship, going somewhere for a little bit, getting their stamp and coming back and just playing that, you know,
Right.
visa game or the passport stamp game. Now, obviously, I know why the government did it. They're trying to boost the economy. And there is word of potentially banks being more open and available to lend to foreigners, because it's been very hard for foreigners to obtain a mortgage in Panama. So I think there's going to be more lending options.
Yeah, I do know, and we've reported on that in the past in our how to open a bank account in Panama video and some other videos we've had on Panama's economy, where the banks are known to be pretty conservative here. The banks are highly rated. I think we ran across something that said it was like 11th in the world. Panama banks are rated, but that's just because they're safe, because they're ultra conservative, ultra conservative.
Yeah.
So that's good to see, you know, them loosening some things up, because I know I've had reports from some subscribers like that. I guess COVID kind of made them even more conservative in some respects in terms of being able to open a bank account. I was able to do it before starting the visa process, and now it seems like a lot of banks are closing off that option and want people to prove that people are going to be here and have started the process before they let them open a bank account. So that's good, at least in your industry with the mortgages, that it's maybe opening up some.
Yeah.
So I know, you know, foreigners not going to be treated exactly the same, but, you know, by the letter of the law, do they have pretty much all the same rights as Panamanians when it comes to property ownership?
Yes, 100%. And that is another one of the big pluses for why to choose Panama, because a lot of other countries either have property purchase restrictions or they have taxes to foreigners purchasing property. So here you can purchase private titled property as a foreigner, and you will be treated exactly as a Panamanian. So that's a total plus.
Okay. And I maybe should have asked this before, just on the heels of the discussion with the mortgages and all of that. And you may or may not have as much insight to this, because it's probably more of a banking question. But I mean, just in general, as compared to places like US, Canada, and Europe, how do the mortgages work in the process? How does that process work in Panama?
Well, I can speak from experience because I'm actually currently getting a mortgage with the bank. I will tell you that it has been incredibly tedious, and I actually know the owner of the bank. So it has been, I mean, I thought that they're going to ask me for my firstborn child, because the amount of paperwork and things that I was only approved because I've owned my own company. You know, I've worked under my company, my corporation. I've filed taxes now for 6 years. So I can prove like financial solvency. Obviously I'm a resident, I'm married to a Panamanian. So there were a lot of factors that really helped me. But yes, very, very tedious. Again, patience is a virtue. Any process in Panama can be very, very frustrating. Sometimes I just pay other people to do it, because I'd rather just pay someone than, you know, beat my head against a wall. But in terms of buyers, I mean, obviously I have worked with a lot of buyers and they don't have the cash to purchase, but they want to buy something. So I've helped a few obtain financing. Seems like Scotiabank right now seems to be the one that is most open to lending to foreigners. but I'm not going to lie, it's very few that get approved. There's a lot of other ways that people obtain cash from their, country of origin, and then they come here and purchase with cash. That's the most typical transaction.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Thanks for that insight. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So with that, what do you see as some of the other pieces of advice? You did give some key advice in terms of just being an expat in Panama in general and learning patience. I've had to learn that as well. I'm still learning that.
It's a work in progress.
But what are the one or two other pieces of advice you could give to our subscribers who are interested in becoming expats in Panama, be that whether it's related to real estate or just life in general?
From the real estate perspective, and obviously I'm a terrible saleswoman, but I would never buy right away. I would recommend renting at least 6 months to a year. Just because, again, there's lots of different areas, there's lots of different property types. I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone was like, Beth, my dream is living on an ocean. I've dreamt about it my whole life. And then they get there and they're like, okay, I'm a mountain person, 100%, right? So, I mean, you're coming from a different country, you're coming to a new land, things aren't the same, and I think a lot of people too, like I've seen people have that honeymoon phase, right? Like you come to Panama and you're so in love and it's so amazing and it's eternal summer. And then like after 6 months or a year, they absolutely hate it. They've had bad experiences, or maybe they didn't vibe well with the people, make good friends, whatever. There's always a different reason. But they're out of here like very quickly. So I've seen it all. It's really easy to buy property here. At the moment, it's not easy to sell. So obviously, we own our home. I just made an investment. I 100% believe in owning property. But I don't think that you should make that jump until 100% you're in. Or at the moment, I am working with a lot of investors, because investments are hot right now. There's great deals. Rentals always do well. So if you're looking from an investment standpoint, my advice is completely different. Like buy now, because buy low, sell high. So on a non-real estate, kind of what I said before, 100% bring a big bag of patience. The Panamanians are incredible people. They're really friendly, but just as anywhere, I mean, if you travel to like Belize or you travel to any of these tropical countries, like it's a slower pace. It's just everyone's doesn't care. And I also take into consideration that the minimum wage here is very low, and prices for things are kind of high. So, they earn like $2.50 an hour or whatever. So I don't know if I would be like super energetic, to get things done right either. So there's a lot of factors involved. And I think if you kind of take yourself out of, you have to basically disconnect from the country you're coming from. You have to kind of open up your mind and really look at it as a whole new experience without any ties to what you knew before, as if you're just like being born again and you're, a new baby and everything's new. Because I think that's the biggest problem for people is the constant comparison. And it's unfair, right? Panama's a developing country. But in compared to other developing countries, Panama has amazing things. I mean, they really do have an amazing infrastructure. We have high-speed broadband internet. Like there's a super vibrant, amazing dining scene in the city. Like, there's amazing malls, shopping, dancing. There's a lot, tons of beaches. There's tons of outdoor opportunities. So it's an incredible country. And I would also suggest, again, I think that out of respect, you should try to learn Spanish. I've seen some English-speaking people be very, very terrible to some of the local Panamanians. Like, why don't you speak English? And well,
yeah, I don't like that.
Really
I don't like that either.
Yeah, me either. So, and I think it makes you happy too. I think it makes the person, if you immerse yourself in the culture, you're having these cultural experiences. So your brain is kind of like in candy land and just always learning. And the best way to learn is cultural immersion. So make a friend with a Panamanian. The thing that is really impresses me always is, I would say 95% of the middle and high class in Panama are bilingual, fully speak English. You won't see that in the lower class because a lot of them don't even finish grade school. Public school here isn't that great. But I can't tell you the percentage of my Panamanian friends that speak English, which is very helpful when you're, English speaking and you come to make friends with someone that's Panamanian. They can help you because they can translate in your native tongue, right? So.
Mhm. All right, great information, and thanks for that. The one thing that resonated with me when you were talking about Panama, I'm glad you said it's a developing country, because a lot of people have a misnomer or thought or something like they automatically think third world country or this or that. But like you said, there are it is a developing country, but it does have a lot of first world amenities. It does have some shortcomings. It has some shortcomings, but at least you still got a lot of these first world amenities, that can help make up for that. So thanks for mentioning that, along with everything else that you mentioned. So we have a part of the show called Hechos Divertidos de Panamá, which is fun facts about Panama. So things you may or may not know, but we'd like to throw it out there for our subscribers. So the national bird of Panama is called the harpy eagle. Hey, this thing is like, it can grow up like 3.5 feet tall with a 6.5, 7 foot wingspan and weigh like 20 something pounds or whatever. And it's, you think about a bird has, you think about little beady eyes and a little small head or a beak. No, this thing has a full blown face, and like a hairline or whatever. So it's just like, if I ever see one of these things, Beth, hey, listen, I'm reaching for my wife's arm. I'm keeping my eye on that bird. I'm reaching for my wife's arm, and I hope her arm's there when I reach for it, because.
Yeah. No, I've never
I'm just
seen
playing,
one
baby.
in
I wouldn't
person.
leave you. I wouldn't leave you, baby. I'm sorry, I wouldn't leave you. But yeah, so I've never seen one, but I wouldn't mind seeing one from a distance. But that's just some people. It's an interesting fact about Panama. It's a big, huge bird. You can't see the pictures of it right now, but I'm going to edit some into this video so our subscribers can see it as they're watching. This thing is huge.
Yeah, massive.
So the other thing that we typically end with is a segment called Panama Sabias, which is a did you know? So Beth, did you know that Panama has more bird species, Panama being the size of basically South Carolina or Ireland, has more bird species than the entire continental United States? Did you know that?
I did. I did.
See, I can't get you with nothing. I couldn't get you with the Spanish. Can't get you with the did you know?
No, I did, but only because one of my really good friends is like obsessed with birds, and she found that fact out. And so we went hiking and bird watching, and there's a million places in Panama that are amazing for bird watching. So
we hear.
I'm not.
Go ahead.
I'm not like an avid bird watcher. I think they're beautiful, but I don't know a lot about bird watching. I don't know if I have enough patience, because when I'm hiking, I just want to keep on trucking. But Panama's a top place. Well, actually, the word Panama means what is it? It's birds, fauna, and
look at you
fish.
Dropping some stuff in here. Okay.
Yeah. Google the definition of Panama. I know it has birds in it. It's like birds, fauna, and fish.
Okay. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
You redeemed yourself with that one.
You can
You were stealing my thunder, but yeah, that's a big piece of information there. So thanks for that. But just to wrap that up. So Panama has 986 species of birds as of 2018. In the continental US, is 914. So they're outpacing the US in terms of that. And if folks want to learn more about that, they can go to the Bill Museo in Panama City.
Yes.
The Biodiversity Museum. Learn more about that. Or you can hike up Ancon Hill in Panama City and a bunch of other places, see some toucans and stuff, We hear all kind of bird sounds like I've never heard in my life. It's like, what the heck is that? But it's definitely interesting.
Well, the birds are all flocking to Panama, just like the US humans, right?
Yeah, a lot of them coming.
Obviously, there's something better here.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Beth. Thanks for all the information. Appreciate your time. And, hopefully we can do a follow-up here as things get going and the country continues to reopen and more folks come down. We can hopefully do a follow-up interview with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care. Have a great day.
You too.